Now, it is World Elder Abuse Awareness Day, and here's a horrible statistic for you. 1 in 10 of our over 65s are victims of abuse and neglect. It might be physical, psychological or financial abuse, and it can be unwittingly carried out or it can be malicious. We'll talk shortly to Age Concern about the problem, but first here is Paul Hobbs with one man's story.
86-year-old Cornelius Wiley knows his way around the kitchen. He's lived alone much of his adult life. But around 6 years ago, he generously decided to help out the middle-aged son of a friend who needed somewhere to stay, a man we'll call Bob.
I invited him because he had nowhere to go. I felt sorry for him.
That act of kindness, though, was the starting point to years of abuse. Bob's girlfriend soon moved in as well.
I thought she was staying a week, and she stayed 4 years.
Rapidly draining Cornelius's finances and his life.
Paid for things, buy the bread, a deep fryer. I left me no money.
On top of that, Cornelius was ousted from his bedroom. He was forced to make multiple trips to the shops each day, often to get solitary items. He had to do all the cooking and cleaning. Seems like he was a virtual slave.
Yeah.
We've chosen not to identify this social worker because of her sensitive work.
Every time when I hear his story, I feel very angry.
It all came to a head one day. Cornelius was making yet another visit to the shops.
I went up to do my groceries, then I collapsed in the doorway of a shop. Then they put me in a hospital.
It only gets worse. While Cornelius was in hospital, too scared to go home, Bob and his girlfriend committed the ultimate act of betrayal.
They told other people that Cornelius passed away. They sold all of Cornelius' belongings.
Then trashed his house.
I was so worried that I just don't really know what's in front of Cornelius.
Fortunately, a good outcome thanks to Age Concern. Cornelius is 86 now. He lives in a rest home. His health...
It's improving.
And he's back sporting a smile.
That is an awful story. Joining us now to talk about elder abuse is Age Concern Chief Executive Kevin Lamb. Good morning to you, Kevin.
Morning.
That is awful to listen to. I'd like to think that there are cases few and far between like that, but what's your take? Is that more common than we'd like to think?
Unfortunately, it is. I mean, elder abuse, it's a global problem, but New Zealand's not immune. And as you said earlier, probably 1 in 10% of all over 65s experience some form of abuse during their lives. If you think across New Zealand, that's 60,000 older people suffering from abuse, 16,000 just here in Auckland.
Wow. So there must be some people, though, that are exceptionally vulnerable, perhaps particularly if they don't have immediate family around them to keep an eye on things?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, isolation and loneliness is a real problem. I mean, you've got almost a third of older people suffering some form of isolation and loneliness. And if you're on your own, if you've got no family nearby, if you're not engaged and socially interacting with your community, then yes, you're going to be more vulnerable to being taken advantage of.
So if you have an elderly relative or you maybe keep an eye on an elderly neighbour or whatever, are there signs that you should be looking out for that the other people in their lives aren't abusing them in any way?
Yes, I mean, simple things such as a change in behaviour. All of a sudden, someone's normal routines are different. Or all of a sudden, they're beginning to recoil from physical contact. You stop seeing them. They just look different. They act differently. There are strange things going on, strange people arriving at the house. Or all of a sudden, there's things have been delivered that you're thinking, why would they be buying these sorts of things? Changes on their financial situation or what they're spending. Just simple things like that to look out for.
And what should people be doing with this information? Because I guess in the first instance, it isn't necessarily like if you heard about Cornelius's case, you think, oh, he's taken pity on a guy, there's nothing illegal in that. So who do you call?
Well, look, I mean, the important thing is to actually interact and engage with the older person themselves. I mean, we always promote the fact that it's important for older people to be allowed to make their own decisions. So get to know the older people, and often just a conversation and just knowing that there's someone there to talk to, they can share information, and that information can be, you can identify there's something wrong. And if there is any suspicion, contact either ourselves at Age Concern. If it's a real concern, contact the police, contact a GP, contact somebody. the message will get through, hopefully to an agency like us, and we can then go and have a conversation with the older person and see whether they're okay.
It isn't just the people living on their own or out in the community too. I mean, even those in care that they're paying for, where we would like to think that they'd be much safer, abuses go on there too. So you need to be careful about where you put the elderly in your life. Oh,
look, abuse can happen anywhere, and it can happen when they're in a rest home. I mean, one of the really distressing statistics is 75% of all cases of abuse are actually within families. Often it's adult children. And so even if an elderly relative is in a rest home, often
might still be the family that's
the family committing the abuse.
Do you think we have enough respect for our elderly?
No, not at all. I think that over time we've seen a real sort of societal shift where we've lost that sense of innate respect. And I think it's going to be a difficult thing to get back, but I think it's something we all need to try, because going forward we're looking at a doubling of the number of older people over the next 15, 20 years. A very high proportion of our population will be over 65.
Yeah, and if the predators are out there and there's more of them to target, then we'll see a rise. It's not the most cheery of conversations, but keep an eye on the elderly people you love. Thank you so much, Kevin.
No, thank you.
Kevin Lamb, Age Concerns Chief Executive.